Tonight, it's game on with the Saints. We'll head up to the NFL Draft Combine in Indianapolis to check in on some prospects the Black and Gold could select.
Plus, I sit down for a one-on-one with Saints and Pelicans owner Gail Benson.
With a quarterback, we're trying. We're working on it.
We worked for it.
After winning the Cotton Bowl, the Tulane Green Wave are back on the practice field.
I think we have the talent, the leadership, the work ethic through everybody.
And will the Pelicans soar or nosedive to close the NBA season? It's time to game on right now. Good Sunday evening. Thank you for joining us. I'm Fletcher Mackel, and it's time to game on. Every week, we'll be talking about the biggest local games and the stars who shined in those matchups. In just a few minutes, we'll hear from a hometown hero who's doing some special things in the WNBA, and we'll unveil our first WDSU Saints mock draft. That's always fun and interesting. Plus, what's wrong with the Pelicans? After a fantastic start, the team is nosedived. Are they going to even make the playoffs? Sports reporter Kendall Duncan talks with veteran players about saving the Pelicans season. But we start with sports anchor Sharif Ishak and the best football team in town, the Tulane Green Wave, who started spring football practice earlier this week.
Yeah, Fletcher, until the end of time, Tulane fans are going to debate which football team is the best in program history, the undefeated 1998 team or last season's 12-2 Cotton Bowl champs. If you ask me, what the 2022 Wave did was a little more impressive.
Trying to replicate that 2022 season will certainly be tough. Willie Fritz let his guys know that 12-2 campaign is in the rearview mirror. Now it's about looking ahead and trying to sustain success for this program moving forward.
We've got a lot of veteran leaders that are back for us, and they're making sure that everyone hears that message as well.
One of the veteran leaders who's heard that message loud and clear is quarterback Michael Pratt, and he's ready to show the world last year wasn't a fluke.
We have the talent, the leadership, the work ethic through everybody. We're just fired up to be able to be back out here on the field and play football and do the things that we love.
Pratt is really fired up to have the same play caller for the second straight season. And yes, Slade Nagel is technically the new offensive coordinator, but he was the main play caller in 2022. So stability is great for Pratt, who is dealing with 8 different OCs in 7 seasons.
He's kind of been a guy that I've always been really close with when I go watch extra film. He's a guy that, I go to him a lot. So being able to have him as our quarterback coach and just being able to be on the same page with him and, speak the same language and just a level of communication is really good between us.
Anytime you're the play caller, the offense takes a little bit of a twist or turn to your personality, and I think as the year went on, it probably did that a little bit, and hopefully we can keep building on it.
The defense will try to build on what they did last season under new defensive coordinator Sheil Wood, who plans on using the same system he ran at Troy.
I've been a little bit more a part of a 3-4 structure as a base, and then there's some multiple type things that we can get into out of that. The more experience and more time that we're together as a staff and the more time we spend with the kids, it gives you a better opportunity to implement more different schemes.
There's a lot of similarities between what we were doing last season and what he's doing. We're kind of combining both his defense and what we did last season. They're not as different as maybe people think they are.
All right, joining me now is Maddie Hudak. She roams the sidelines for the Tulane Green Wave. All right, Maddie, the realistic expectations for this year's Tulane Green Wave.
I think for the first time in a long time, there's this idea of sustained success and building on that momentum of last season. Yes, they've had a lot of turnover on the coaching staff and the players, because that's what happens when you have a successful season like last year. But for example, Sheil Wood at defensive coordinator, kind of what he's bringing to the table in terms of having them play a little more man coverage, the defensive back room that they were able to kind of bolster from the transfer portal and get some key transfers at linebacker as well. And with all the consistency at head coach, I think that that's really the paramount part of all of this. You saw guys like Alex Bauman step up in the Cotton Bowl, who made 4 catches all season. So yes, there's a lot of turnover all over the place, but I think that the culture and the legacy that last season's team left will withstand.
Last season, Michael Pratt, 3,500 yards of offense. Pretty good through the air, 37 total touchdowns. How does he get better this season?
Well, he wasn't healthy half the time last year, including the final stretch of games. He had a broken bone inside his heel, and so just to think about his mental toughness really at all times, and the final drives in both the Cincinnati game and the Cotton Bowl, I think, show really what he can do, but he's going to need someone to replace Tajay Spears back there, because just their chemistry together, what Tajay did as a pass blocker out the backfield, as a pass catcher as well. Shotty Clayton-Johnson, I believe, is running back one for now, but they have a freshman, Arnold Barnes, from Louisiana. And he looks like Michael Turner in terms of stature, so I'm curious to see kind of how they bolster that and help Michael out on the running game.
We talked about the realistic expectations. I'll give you this last question and answer. How many wins do they have this season?
I say that they're going to the conference championship for a second year in a row, so I'd say about 10 wins or more.
All right, she is Tulane sideline reporter Maddie Hudak. We'll hear a lot from her coming up throughout the entire season.
The football field in Tulane's Ullman Stadium is named Benson Family Field because of a donation from Gail and the late Tom Benson. Earlier this week, I had a chance to go one-on-one with the Saints and Pelicans owner on a variety of topics. We start with something she does before every Pels tip-off.
You know, I send Willie Green and David Griffin and Trajan a note before every game. And then if Willie loses, I send him a note after the game. And I tell him I'm so sorry for the loss.
How, just to follow up on that, how do you handle, I've always been curious about that, wins and losses. Obviously, you leave here happy with a win. If it's a loss, do you kind of compartmentalize it and just kind of something positive of, hey, we'll build off of it and get better?
You know, I do. My husband was different. He would get angry. But I mean, I know that it's a ball, and sometimes it goes in your court, and sometimes it doesn't. And everybody isn't going to win all the time. I mean, I'd like us to, but it just isn't in the way it works.
Mrs. Benson also oversees her franchises in a steady, methodical way. What she doesn't believe in, making knee-jerk decisions. So for everyone on social media saying things like fire Dennis Allen, forget about it.
You know, my husband really believed in hiring someone and letting them do their job. And I'm sort of the same way, except if they don't do their job, then they're not with us anymore. So I'm very patient, and I try to help people as much as I can. But I feel like anything that you do in a calm manner is going to be more positive than yelling and screaming, and it just doesn't work when you do that. And it takes up so much of your negative energy. So I feel like when we handle things in a calm manner, we're much better off.
Do you pay attention or even get caught up, even for a second, if somebody sent you something? Did you see this on social media? Did you see that? Or do you kind of distance yourself from that?
You know, I don't do social media. I really don't even know how to do Facebook and all that. I've never done it. I mean, I do emails and text messages and that, but that's all I do. But when I do hear of something, because Greg Bensel will inform me and tell me, you know, somebody, I really don't. It doesn't upset me because I feel sorry for the person that says something negative, because it doesn't affect me. It really affects them more than it does you.
You've become very visible with some of your players' initiatives, Demario Davis, the NFL Foundation. Some owners just write checks, but you're actually on the ground going to meetings and involved in their endeavors. Why is it important for you to be present at those initiatives?
You know, I want them to know that I care, because I do care. I mean, writing a check is easy, but I think giving of yourself means more to people than just writing a check. And that's what I like doing. I enjoy meeting with them and giving them the encouragement to do what they do. And I feel like when I give to the community, that it encourages them to do the same thing.
Sean is now in Denver, and when he was introduced, he spoke glowingly of your late husband and yourself. Is it strange now that it's kind of settled in to see Sean? Are you happy for him? Are you happy with the compensation? Just kind of your thoughts, since we haven't spoken to you.
You know, I'm very happy for Sean. I mean, it was time for him to move on, and he came to me and told me. He was very emotional when he told me he was thinking about this. And, you know, and I supported him just like I did Drew Brees. I mean, we don't want to lose these people, but you can't hold somebody back that's ready to move. And, you know, with Sean, he just felt like he wanted to take a little break and just kind of sort things out in his head. And I understand that. I mean, you know, I guess he was burnt out, and that's okay. But I'm glad he's in Denver. I hope he's happy. And I really like Sean and Skylene a lot. So, you know, I keep up with all of our players, even when they go to another team. I still talk to them, and they'll send me a note, or I'll send them a note. So it's never a loss for us. I always feel like they go, but they're still here.
You can watch the full interview I did with Saints and Pelicans owner Gail Benson right now on any of our WDSU digital platforms.
All right, Fletcher, let's talk about Gail Benson's basketball team now. The Pelicans were the true underdog story last season. After starting a disastrous 1-12, New Orleans was able to turn it around and make the playoffs and push the #1 team in the West to 6 games. So with the same coach and most of the same playmakers, can New Orleans use that success from last year as a guide to make a postseason push this season as the West comes down to the wire?
Yeah, you look back on that and you realize how much confidence they had, and they need to try and find that again. Definitely looked a little bit shook during that 10-game losing streak. Even out of the All-Star break, there was some struggle from the team to kind of find their identity again. They might have found it with a small ball lineup. They'll still get Zion Williamson back, hopefully at some point this year. But if they can figure those sorts of things out, I think they can look back at last year and realize this season isn't lost just yet, and there's a lot to play for.
I mean, that shows that what we're capable of, shows that we know, how to, perform under a sense of urgency, but also under pressure and still execute. So I think those things are helpful to kind of lean on, but this is a different year, different situation, different team, and I think we're a better team, we're more mature, we have a better understanding of where we're going and how to get there.
The story this year has been a little different, though. The team hasn't been able to stack wins in the back half of the season, and a huge reason for that, injuries.
I don't think I've been on a team where, we missed this many games from our starters and all-star types of players, but it's a part of our growth. I think younger players have continued to grow and step up and show maturity and show preparation.
The beginning of the year, they looked like a team that could easily challenge for the top spot in the West. When Zion was firing on all cylinders with Brandon Ingram out there, with injuries, I think it's changed it a little bit. And when you look where they are right now, there's still a chance to avoid the play-in tournament. And I think that should probably be the target goal for the team.
So as for what the Pelicans need to do to make the playoffs and compete in a stronger Western Conference,
they're going to need to find offense, and they're going to need to find consistent offense. You look at the Phoenix Suns with Kevin Durant, more offense. Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic, that's all offense, no defense. Both of them scoring 40 points to each in the game the other night. You're going to need to score the basketball. And so if they want to be competitive in the West, you're going to have to do that. You do that well with Zion Williamson, but even at the times he's not on the court, if he's back healthy, you need to be scoring points too. That's going to be on the coaching staff to kind of figure out how to break the Pelicans out of the offensive slump that they've been in. Otherwise, it's going to be a quick trip and out of the postseason.
Kendall, nice report. Now we're going to have some Pelicans analysis. Kendall, we'll start with you. 2 big questions. When does Zion return? Where do the Pelicans finish in the Western Conference this year?
I think I'm going to go a little optimistic and say that Zion returns before the end of March. I'm thinking when they play the Hornets, the Spurs, that homestand around the 23rd, end of March, I think it's a good time for him to come back against not that competitive of a team. I think the Pels, though, end in a playoff scenario around, play-in scenario around 8.
I think that he returns, I would say, around the last 6 or 7 games of the season. Yes, the schedule lightens up a bit for me, but I still think they're 7 or 8 at best because the teams ahead of them are very good, Fletcher. So I'm going to stick with the 7 or 8 play-in team, and I think they win that first play-in game, and they're going to be in the playoffs.
Yeah, the West is obviously a hornet's nest. I also think that Zion is coming back before the end of the season. I think the Pelicans, though, are going to be 9-10 just like last year. But how's about this for optimism? They get through the play-in and into the playoffs and maybe even push like Denver in the first round. If they're fully healthy with Zion, B.I., CJ, maybe, I'm not saying they're getting out the first round, but I think they could do what they did last year in the first round when they pushed the Suns. We shall see. Kendall and Sharif, thank you very much.
All right, still to come, we'll head up to Indianapolis and check in on the annual NFL Combine. Plus, we've got our first mock draft with players we like for the black and gold in the upcoming draft.
You're watching WDSU Sports Game On. Presented by the Walker family of dealerships. Walker Acura, Walker Volkswagen in Metairie, and Volkswagen of Mandeville.
Welcome back, everyone. Saints leaders have been in Indianapolis the past few days at the annual NFL Combine. They've met with free agent quarterback Derek Carr and, of course, scouted some of the top talent for the upcoming NFL draft.
Look, I think when the dust settles, Derek Carr is the Saints quarterback, but we shall see. As for some workout warriors at the Combine who may have caught the attention of the black and gold, here are a few players to keep an eye on.
Go.
While not a glaring need for the Saints, the tight end position is deep in the 2023 draft. So if a player like Notre Dame's Michael Mayer or Utah's Dalton Kincaid fall to number 29, perhaps the Saints add one of them.
As a complete tight end.
Given Alvin Kamara's ongoing legal issues and possible suspension, coupled with Mark Ingram being a free agent, a running back is a need, and Tulane's Tajay Spears could be a good fit. And let's not forget the most important position. Even if the Saints add a veteran signal caller, they could perhaps still draft a quarterback like Tennessee's Hendon Hooker.
Great organization, great people, great football minds. We really just got a get-to-know-me type of situation, and talked a little ball, but it was a great process.
Yeah, dream come true, but wherever the opportunity presents itself at. But I've been having real good interactions with the Saints. Had an informal meeting with them. It went really well. Also, they say we got a whole bunch of time to catch up.
Okay, more analysis from our sports team. We started with Kendall last time. We're going to start with Sharif this time. It's hard to do mock drafts this early, but I love mock drafts. So we're all going to take a crack at the #1 pick for the Saints, pick 29 overall. Sharif, start. Please do it. You love Hendon Hooker. Just go Hendon Hooker in the first round. Have some guts for me.
All right, fine. I'll go Hendon Hooker in the second round. I can't do it in the first round. I do love me some Hendon Hooker. I think everyone in the world knows I love Hendon Hooker, but they have too many holes to fill, especially along the defensive line. So I'm going to go with Iowa defensive end Lucas Van Ness. He's a pretty solid player, about 6'5", 275 pounds, 4.58, 40-yard dash, had 13.5 sacks in his 2 seasons with Iowa. And as we know, there's no defensive tackle, and they're struggling at end. So they need somebody in a big-time way along that defensive line to produce for them. And I like Lucas Van Ness. I think he could be pretty good.
I think you're sticking with defense with your Saints first-round draft pick.
I'm as well. I'm going with the tackle, though, a position they have no one on in 2023. Kalijah Cansey from Pitt. We saw what he did in the 40-yard dash. 4.67 fastest dash time since they started keeping that stat in 2006 from a defensive tackle. So I think he'd be a great addition to the Saints team.
Yeah, I love him out of Pitt, an undersized defensive tackle. Maybe he's Aaron Donald-esque. I'm going to go with a pick that's not sexy either. Defensive line, offensive line. I'm going with Osiris Torrance out of the University of Florida. He's actually from Hammond, right here in southeast Louisiana. I think Andres Pete's going to be a salary cap casualty, so I think the Saints bolster the interior of their offensive line. Look, we could have gone quarterback, wide receiver. We all went in the trenches. That's what the Saints seem to do in the first round. We shall see when the first round of the Saints draft gets underway.
Coming up, we catch up with a local WNBA star we've been covering here at WDSU for a very long time.
Welcome back, everyone. A few weeks ago, local WNBA product Teresa Plaisance signed as a free agent with the Seattle Storm. Teresa is a 6'5" center entering her 10th season of pro basketball. She is also someone we've been covering here at WDSU a very long time, and she is the focus of this week's Spotlight segment.
I used to play quarterback, wide receiver, punter, safety.
20 years ago, we introduced you to a 10-year-old sports prodigy. In 2003, Teresa Plaisance was picked to compete on national TV in the NFL's punt, pass, and kick competition.
I kind of normalized the fact that, sport was just like something that I was good at, and I really enjoyed doing it more than anything.
The daughter of Nicholls State head women's basketball coach Doobie Plaisance, Teresa transitioned from youth football to big-time basketball. A star at LSU, she was drafted into the WNBA in 2014, and she became a champion last fall when her Las Vegas Aces won the league championship. She's also played professionally in 6 different foreign countries.
Basketball has provided me a lot of opportunity to see places of the world that I would never be able to see, to meet people I never would have been able to meet, and experience different cultures and lifestyles that I would have never been able to without basketball. So, as a 30-year-old looking back, the game has given me so much, and I'm very appreciative of just everything that comes from it.
Teresa is also encouraged by the growth she's seen in the WNBA. In 2012, franchises in that league were valued at $10 million. Today, due to increased popularity and better TV deals, the average worth of a team is $44 million.
It creates a platform for young girls to see somebody like me doing what I do at the top of my game and saying that, you know, as a young girl, you can do this too. It's just something very special. In New Orleans, I didn't have the opportunity of having a WNBA team here, and being able to go into the Las Vegas community and seeing all these young girls looking up to Asia Wilson and Chelsea Gray and Kelsey Plum.
And you.
And myself. It's really nice to just see little boys wearing WNBA jerseys and the all-around support that's around the league. So we're really excited about the future of the league, and you know, where we are now is you know, a nice place, but we know that we can do a lot better.
That was our Spotlight segment. Before we go, we're going to try to have a new segment every week. The good, the bad, and the funny from the world of sports. Kendall, start us off with something good in sports.
Good in sports, Ron Hunter, the Tulane men's head basketball coach, getting his 500th career win against Temple on Sunday. Great moment. He was emotional, but also made a few jokes after how he won't get to 500 more.
Yeah, that was great. The bad is the Pelicans. On Friday night, they lost to the Warriors. The Warriors closed on a 19-6 run. The Pelicans are really bad right now. If they lose on Monday, they'll actually fall out of the play-in tournament. It's not good right now for the Pelicans.
The funny? You, Fletcher, Downtown Irish Club Man of the Year. Check out this picture right here by Fletcher. And Fletcher even has the sash to prove it. There it is in his hands, the Man of the Year. I'll put it on a little bit. There we go.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, looks good on me. Better than you.
The parade is on March 17th. Friday, March 17th. Not sure what the criteria is, but thank you, Downtown Irish Club.
All right, coming up on Game On next week, we've got an update on longtime New Orleans journalist John DeShazer and his courageous ongoing battle with cancer. And in 2 weeks, we'll profile the radio voice of the Pelicans, the always passionate and sometimes unintentionally hilarious Todd Graffinini.
Yeah, the Pelicans back at home on Wednesday night against the Dallas Mavericks. And that's going to do it for us this evening. For Sharif Ishak, Kendall Duncan, as well as our entire crew, thanks for joining us. We hope to see you each Sunday night at 11 p.m. right here on WDSU as we game on. Good night, everyone, and have a great week.